I think traveling is a great way to make new experiences, meet new people and see the world. And that's also why I think that traveling is the best way to see the world more open-mindedly and also see it from a different perspective. But what do you do if you don't have a lot of money to travel? Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't actually need to have a lot of money to travel to different places, to different countries and see the world. You can actually do it quite cheaply, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. So I want to give you some tips and tricks on how you can make your money last longer when you're going on your next trip. So let's just start off by saying that some countries are cheaper than others. So if you want to make your money last the longest time possible, then just travel to cheaper places. I think this one is pretty obvious, but you know, I have to mention it because this does not mean that you have to stick to Southeast Asia, for example, which is known to be a very budget-friendly area to travel in. But you can actually find cheap places in Europe as well, such as Poland. So, you know, traveling to Poland instead of Switzerland, and traveling Southeast Asia instead of Australia and New Zealand will be cheaper, and it will make your money last for longer. I actually found a blog post listing the cheapest places you can travel to in each continent. So whether you want to travel to Europe, to America, to Africa or Asia, then there is a place for you, and I will leave the link to the blog post in the description so you can check it out in case you're wondering where to travel next. And I actually traveled to Mexico in August, and I can confidently say that Mexico is definitely one country where you can make your money last for long. It's definitely possible to travel Mexico on a budget. But of course, you know, you can still spend a lot of money in each country. So let's talk more about the ways you can make your money last for longer. So another way to travel on a budget is to eat street food. Street food isn't only cheap, but it's also usually delicious. And it's not very common to find street food in Europe, but if you're traveling to, for example, Southeast Asia or Asia in general and South America, then you will for sure find some delicious street food, and it's usually the cheapest alternative. And I will say that the street food we ate in Mexico, like burritos, tostadas and tacos, those were the best food that we ate on our whole trip. That even though the times we spent a bit more on food, I still found the street food we ate to be the best food. And another thing you can do is to cook your own food. So if you're, for example, staying in hostels or Airbnbs that have a kitchen, then take advantage of it, especially if you're traveling to a bit more expensive countries, or you know, you can just make your own breakfast, buy some snacks and that kind of stuff, and that way you can make your money last for longer and stay on a budget. Another thing you can do to travel on a budget is to stick to beer, drink beer. I'm not saying that you should drink like excessive amounts of alcohol.
Paulie is 13. He's been drinking half a bottle of vodka every Friday.
So, you know, you can also just lower your alcohol consumption, because partying and going out can really take up a big chunk of your budget. But if you want to go out once in a while and have a drink, then, you know, just learn to like beer if you don't already, because I think this is true to most places in the world. Beer is usually the cheapest alcoholic beverage, so, you know, stick to beer. Another thing you can do to travel on a budget is to use public transportation. Of course, if you can split the cost, then it might be worth considering taking a taxi or Uber or private shuttle even. But usually the cheapest option is the public transportation, and especially if you're traveling solo, then I would always go for public transportation. So flights usually are the biggest cost of your trip, so it's worth considering comparing flights and different flight routes and different options. So for example, you can use these tricks like browse in incognito or private mode, or use a VPN to change your location. Flight prices can fluctuate depending on where you're browsing from, and you might also want to try to find flights on different flight comparison websites. I like to use Momondo and Skyscanner, but there are also others, like I think it's Kiwi or Kayak or Google Flights, a lot of different kinds, but it's worth to check a few of them. Even if they are all flight comparison websites, they still can have different prices, so it's worth to check a few of those. Another thing you can do is to also check flights in nearby cities or nearby areas. So for example, me and my friend are traveling to Slovenia, and instead of flying straight into Slovenia, we decided to fly into Zagreb in Croatia and then take the bus, because that way we saved about 140 euros or something like that, which is quite a lot of money. And also consider how long it takes for you to get to your destination. Accommodation is usually another big cost of a trip, and this is also a great place to save. And for example, hostels are usually the cheapest option if you're traveling solo, but then it's also worth checking out the different options like Airbnb, hotels if you're traveling as a couple or a group. Another thing you can do is to work a bit for free accommodation. You can do this just by asking at hostels. I've heard people doing this. Then you might get a free dorm bed, or you can go to sites like Woof and Workaway, where you can search for jobs, and usually they offer free accommodation and food and this kind of things. You could also check out pet sitting sites or even house swapping. If you have a house or apartment and you want to swap it with someone who is traveling to your country. And what I have done in the past is tried couch surfing, which is basically where you just go and sleep on a random person's couch for free. And it's not as sketchy as it sounds, because this is a legit platform and a site where the people who are there have profiles. You can review people, you can pay for verification, so it makes it kind of more trustworthy, I guess. But just check out these different options, because there are more than just hotels, there are more than just hostels. Even if you would have no money at all for accommodation, there are ways to get by if you really want to. Nowadays, many airlines charge extra for checked-in luggage, which is why traveling carry-on only and traveling light in general is such a good idea. And usually we don't need a lot of stuff anyway. I know if I would have more space, I would definitely be an overpacker, but traveling light is just very practical in general, because it's much nicer to carry less items with you. You can usually find places where you can wash your clothes on the road, so I think a good rule of thumb is to pack for a week and then just wash your laundry as you go. And you can also change your liquid shampoo to a solid shampoo bar instead, and same for conditioner. And this way you don't exceed the liquid limit, or at least it helps you to save some space in your liquids, which is the limit you have when you travel with carry-on only. Another thing you can do to save money while traveling is to travel off season and be flexible in general. I know many people don't have this opportunity, but if you can, just be flexible and travel off season, because this usually means that you can find better deals and also find cheaper accommodation and flights, because off season usually means that less people are traveling, which means that stuff like this is cheaper. So that was all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you got some helpful tips and tricks that you can use and take advantage of on your next trip. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. I always enjoy making travel content for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!